Welcome back. It's time for the Roundtable, and this week we've got two insiders who know what's really going on in the region when it comes to the issues everyone's talking about this week. And let's face it, there are plenty of people now weighing in on Larry Hogan and Muriel Bowser and how they're doing their jobs. Also this week, lots of talk about the Purple Line, plus the jobs outlook and the possibility of big federal dollars for cyber. With so much to get to, let's turn right now to our two guests, Jim Dinegar, President and CEO of the Greater Washington Board of Trade, and Jonathan Aberman, venture capitalist, head of Amplifier Ventures. Jonathan, let's start with you. Quick take on Friday's job numbers. Actually,
really good numbers. Unemployment number is up a little bit, but that means more people are in the workforce. The most interesting thing is that you're starting to see some wage increases with middle-class jobs. I think it may be because of the changes in the oil market, which we predicted a couple of months ago. Overall, the economy is in good shape right now.
Jim, George Mason University, as you know, has been waving a bit of a red flag for the Washington area. You think there's some reason for optimism here. Why?
There's a lot of reason for optimism. First, we're in the Greater Washington region. There's still a lot of insulation. I'm not saying that things are as great as they used to be. They're certainly not as bad as the stories that have been coming out. Fairfax and Arlington have certainly taken the chin over the last couple of months, maybe even the last couple of years, and the outlook isn't as bright as potentially the District of Columbia or Maryland. There's a lot of opportunity around this region.
Jonathan, I do think they have a point to be made that we have got to keep diversifying, which is something that the Board of Trade has been emphasizing as well. Now this opportunity for a big cyber campus funded by the federal government. We all see money in cyber, but it would be a federal government cyber campus. Explain to me why the president is proposing this when we already have U.S. Cyber Command. What would be the difference?
A couple of things. First of all, diversification is great, but we must remember we have strengths in the region. That's what Tandem NSI is about. The cyber campus is important.
Tandem NSI, your organization,
right,
to emphasize that.
Thanks. The reason why the cyber initiative is so important is because, as we saw with the North Korean hack of Sony, cybersecurity is no longer a governmental matter. It actually comes in the private sector. The country needs a place where the private and public sector can disseminate.
So is this what that would be?
I believe so, and I think it's essential for national security, and I think for our region it's essential that it occurs here, because if it doesn't occur here, it's going to occur in Silicon Valley, and we're going to lose a lot of opportunities for great startups and great employment here. It's a big deal.
Jim, your take on that?
Well, it's a huge opportunity, and I have to say that I've never seen a bigger issue than cyber and a bigger opportunity for the Greater Washington region. Not Virginia against Maryland, Maryland against the district, but this region in totality should be going after this so that we're not eating or losing out to Silicon Valley or Austin,
right.
Texas.
Oh my goodness, my Leadership Greater Washington class talks about that all the time. Regional cohesion, that's one of your big jobs. Good luck with that, buddy.
It's an important
It doesn't
job.
happen. And I'm going to segue right now to your take on two of the big competitors for jobs, Larry Hogan, Muriel Bowser. Let's start with Larry Hogan. His State of the State for Maryland, it didn't really strike the bipartisan tone that he had been trying to strike earlier. He said the economy was kind of in the dumps with the Democrats, and he's going to make lots of changes. Didn't go over so well. What's your take?
He was consistent with his election message. I mean, that's how he got elected. That was the campaign message, and candidly, he's not shaking that off. He's not sort of all of a sudden switching because he's governor. So the consistency is important. I do think that he's reaching out to the legislators on both sides of the aisle, and I have to give him a lot of credit. He's put a heck of a team together very quickly. He's got some all-stars on that team. So I do not think that we will see the walls go up around Maryland and no willingness to work with Virginia or Maryland or the district. I think he's already reached out, and they've had some very good conversations with the mayor in Washington and the governor in Virginia.
A little bit early for first semester, but do you want to give him a first semester grade?
E for effort. Really nice.
Jonathan Aberman, you know, there is no honeymoon in politics. Muriel Bowser already off to the races in D.C. She had a rough start with things she couldn't always control, from snow decisions to fatal metro accident. But the business community is also taking a careful look at how she's doing. So how's she doing?
I think that we're going to see how she's going to do with tech. The last administration was very focused on tech employment. Look, I think being mayor of D.C. is a very hard job, because a lot of the things that mayors ordinarily can control, she really can't because of the way D.C. is governed. I believe that she's very smart. I think she surrounded herself with people that understand technology and business. I'm optimistic about how it's going to go for her.
Jim Dinegar, you want to give her a grade so far?
Absolutely. I'll give her the same E for effort, and it's really an impressive start that she's had. I know there were a couple of missteps, not by her making, but Metro or the weather. I will say, though, that you're not going to find a more regional-minded mayor than Muriel Bowser. She worked in Prince George's or in Montgomery County. She understands from her time at COG, at Council of Governments, and she she worked on the Metro board. So she's as regional a person as we've ever seen in that spot.
It's going to be about the Purple Line, gentlemen. But first, Jim Dinegar, there was a big event surrounding the Purple Line this week. You attended, you co-hosted. What was it all about?
Well, it's a reiteration of the strong, strong, strong business support for the Purple Line. Really does make an enormous amount of sense. And candidly, it's the Silver Line for Maryland. This is where we see the connection of cyber and research and biomedical and informatics all along the line of the Purple Line. There's enormous opportunity, but if you can make the business case, and I think it needs to be remade to the new governor, if you can make that business case, I think he's got an open mind.
That's saying it diplomatically, like the diplomat that you are. So Purple Line, backed, pushed by Martin O'Malley, derided by Larry Hogan throughout his gubernatorial campaign, and yet there's money for it in his budget. Groundbreaking, supposed to take place in 2015. Lots of blueprints and plans and businesses ready to get started. So here's the pop quiz question. How do you rate the chances of the Purple Line actually going forward to fruition? And if you think it will, when will it?
Well, I think that the chances are high. Really, when you even look at the federal government, the Silver Line initially was not graded highly, and so it actually was knocked off track. The business community worked to get the Silver Line back on track. Well, the federal government has actually rated the Purple Line at the very highest levels, so that's step one, and that's $900 million on the table. I think it proceeds. I think it will be delayed, potentially as much as 6 months, but I think it proceeds.
Jonathan, I didn't buy a house because it was supposed to be on the path for the new Purple Line. I didn't want to do that. A lot of people making these plans.
I'm sorry
and
to
yet,
hear that, Rebecca.
Larry Hogan, I love the house I ended up buying. Larry Hogan could make this a play to please his Tea Party conservative base, scrap it and move on.
Certainly. Look,
how do you rate the chances?
Money in a budget doesn't mean that ideological divides can be overcome. Look at Terry McAuliffe with Obamacare. The money was there to expand Medicaid, and it didn't happen because of ideology. I think the reality is the Purple Line is much more important to mass transit than the Silver Line is from a standpoint of economic development for the region. So hopefully somebody will say to him, look, at the end of the day, what matters is not posturing for the camera. What matters is economic development. The Purple Line is an important part of the infrastructure we need for the next 30 years to make this region great.
So you say it goes forward as well?
I say it should go forward. Whether or not ideology allows it to, I can't predict.
I say I was still glad I didn't buy the house, but I am glad that you watched this week. Thanks for joining us for Washington Business Report. Tune in next week.